welcome everybody to our talk here. We're going to start just real briefly by setting a little bit of context on Tanzu application platform, in part to give you guys a strong idea of what some of the philosophies were that we brought to the table as we built and designed this product. Of course, VMware it has been proudly selling the Tanzu application service for a very long time. We have a lot of experience with doing large-scale enterprise development platforms, but we saw with Kubernetes an opportunity to think about things a little bit differently. And it starts in large part by sort of what the science is telling us about the ways that organizations can be most successful with applications and digital transformation. And what it really comes down to is innovation is critical. We're sort of in a Red Queen situation where your customers are constantly finding new and interesting ways to do things, using online tools, self-service, using online payment systems. And so we're finding ourselves having to do a lot more to address that and make more opportunities available for our customers and to surprise them so that they are very, very interested in being loyal and coming back to us. And so speed is of the essence here. We absolutely see that, that organizations with faster velocity and faster time to market have a much more successful outcome in terms of both their revenue growth, stock price, and also just in terms of their ability to turn out new features and new capabilities to their customers. The problem is, as we kind of do this at scale, we bring in new tools to help us do this at scale, and we bring in more complexity into the task of building software. And this is a necessary thing. There's just a lot of different use cases, a lot of different elements that are a part of the picture. The combinatorics are very, very high on this, so the complexity gets very high. And right now, what we're finding is that Kubernetes is great for provisioning resources at scale, but it's not really solving the developer experience problem. It's not solving the problem of helping developers overcome all of that complexity. Kubernetes primarily is, again, it's a series of capabilities that are about infrastructure provisioning, which is hard in and of itself. There are many, many aspects to this that if a developer is fully responsible for that, they end up with many, 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 many lines of YAML that they have to edit and maintain. And this is just really frustrating for a developer that wants to focus on building that new innovative functionality that helps move the business forward. And add to that the ecosystems around Kubernetes are huge, right? So the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is the hosting foundation for Kubernetes alone, has just dozens and dozens of projects that are related to giving Kubernetes and Kubernetes environments more capability, not only at the infrastructure level, not only at the platform level, but also in terms of support for different application types, observability, all these kinds of different things that are necessary for one use case or another in digital transformation. So on top of that, the public cloud providers are getting very complex. The number of services being offered by each of the big three American cloud providers, for instance, AWS, Azure, and Google, those three all are growing, by a fairly large number of services every year. And so, as you can kind of see from this meme on the side, like just deploying containers in AWS, for instance, has arguably 17 different ways and 17 different services that you can use for that purpose. To deal with this, we need the ability to sort of simplify the path to production. And in simplifying the path to production, it's important to note that we can't do this with a one-size-fits-all solution. So we certainly want to pave the way for code to get built, tested, merged, deployed, scanned, all those things. We want that to be something that is very straightforward and simple and removes toil for the developer and removes risk for the developer. Two very critical concepts. But we also know we can't just build one supply chain for all of our applications in our organization and expect it to work flawlessly for every one of those applications. Different architectures have different needs. Different levels of compliance requirements have different needs. Different data sources in different locations have different needs. And so we want to make sure that our path to production is both something that can simplify and remove work and remove decision-making from unnecessary decision-making from the developer, but at the same time allows for that flexibility to modify and change the path to production as necessary to deliver to the developer environment. So today we're going to talk to you and demonstrate for you a lot about how Tanzu application platform works, and really conceptually what Tanzu application platform is. It's a combination of tools that deliver on two critical loops in the development process. And the first is what we call the inner loop. And the inner loop is really that loop that each developer has in sort of getting up to speed on a project, and then that code debug test loop that they're constantly in building their applications. So that's the really kind of critical piece. Just being able to do that, but just to get to being able to build code, there's also that need to be able to join the project, discover the existence of services that need to be incorporated in the project, and just even learning the basics about how to use the platform, how to use specific services that the organization is offering, and so on. The second loop then is the loop that the entire organization takes on for taking an application, all the different developers' inputs into the application and merging it. And then once it's merged, doing all the integration testing, security scanning, other steps that need to happen, things that you usually think about in terms of continuous integration. Those things are critical. And then, one of the things that we are very aware of and have designed the product with in mind is you may already have your own CI to do some of this stuff. And we want to make sure that you can have a path to production, a supply chain mechanism that can provide some checks and balances around, say, each development team's CI process, and make sure that what comes out the other end passes certain tests before you let it go on and be delivered to staging or production or wherever that might be. And so the automation around deployment and sort of interacting with Kubernetes, so Kubernetes can do its magic in automating the orchestration and running of the application once it's deployed. Those things are also a part of what TAP delivers to you. And so you have this combination of giving the developer a lot of tools and capability that makes them faster up to speed, onboarding quicker, and more productive once they're working on a project, and this outer loop that gives the organization the ability to create basically a freeway with guardrails for applications that can be modified should different applications have different needs. And and with that, I think the best thing to do at this point in time is to hand things off to Aaron so you can begin to see what we're talking about here and what all the wonderful capability is that TAP brings to the table to meet this objective. And Aaron, I will hand it off to you.